Hey now, how we doing? Welcome to the third and final part of my in-depth objective analysis of Sailor Moon Classic versus Sailor Moon Crystal, where we go through every part of episode 1 in an effort to praise what is done well and berate what is done poorly, along with general discussions on storytelling, animation, and production to get as thorough an understanding as possible for each point. And last, but certainly not least, lots of snarky commentary and jokes too. Memes are love, memes are life. If you haven't seen the previous parts, or if you need a refresher, check them out before continuing. With all that being said, enjoy the show. Alright, last scene of the episode, let's finish strong. Turns out Manga was directly linked to the energy Jadeite held in his dark room, something I forgot to mention earlier. Jadeite has the ability to collect energy from others and gather it into a condensed orb with the help of a proxy, that is, his Yoma minions. If that sounds familiar, it should, because Dragon Ball's Spirit Bomb is similar in principle. The difference is this is taken from people without their knowledge or consent, and it isn't used as an attack. Missed opportunity? Perhaps. Jadeite's attitude toward his Yoma is pretty generic as well. As long as his underling is useful, he's placated. When they're not, he could care less about them. Typical bad guy attitude. I told you, there's not much character for Jadeite. He's pretty much a generic bad guy. He doesn't even have the pretty boy attitude to go with his pretty boy look. Missed opportunity, especially when I think about the other pretty boy villains in this series and how much personality and intrigue they have. Aside from Jadeite though, I'm glad Tuxedo Kamen compliments Usagi. It helps with establishing their relationship as the story goes on. If you don't think this is a big deal, understand that this is the first time Usagi has done anything remotely like this in her entire life. She almost died several times over, she openly admits to wanting to go home, she bawls her eyes out in front of him, Luna has to yell at her to attack Morga, Naru could have died. There's so many things that went wrong or very nearly went wrong, and if this was set in the Marvel or DC universe, most characters would point to this as a terrible first night of superheroing. Despite all of that, Tuxedo Kamen tells her, sincerely, that she did a good job. He also tells her he will remember this night before elegantly flinging his cape and disappearing from sight. Dramatic, but kind of fairy tale-like and cool. He also saved her from Morga just in time by throwing a magical rose right in front of her. Very heroic and romantic. He encouraged her in her time of need, and his cape flowed dramatically in the wind as the moonlight lit his back. He's a snappy dresser, we'll get into why that's relevant to Usagi's tastes later. He's tall, dark, handsome, and level-headed in a crisis. These are all good reasons why Usagi would go all hard eyes for Tuxedo Kamen. So there's nothing wrong with the love at first sight cliche here. Now hold it just a second, Saj, I hear someone saying. You just got done ranting about how terrible Crystal Usagi and Mamoru's love at first sight cliche was. Now you're praising classic Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Kamen's love at first sight cliche? Gotcha, you biased and hypocritical toxic man-child. Well, darn, I guess you got me on that one, except no, you don't. Unfortunately, my friend, you have forgotten why Crystal's love at first sight cliche was bad in the first place. So let's back it up. The issue with the love at first sight cliche between Usagi and Mamoru and Crystal is the fact that they have no reason to be attracted to each other, besides him being a generic anime boy and her being a cute anime girl. Oh, and plot, can't forget that essential piece of the puzzle. Here we have several good reasons and a larger-than-life scenario supporting the idea of her falling for him this fast. He ticks a lot of boxes within 30 seconds. I absolutely think this makes much more sense than Crystal's Usagi and Mamoru encounter. Plus, let's not forget, Usagi and Mamoru still don't like each other at this point in the story. We don't even know if Tuxedo Kamen loves Sailor Moon at this point. All we know is Usagi likes Tuxedo Kamen, and we're given many good reasons as to why she would. And the reasons are going to keep piling up every single time they meet up this season. So no, these two love at first sight scenes aren't the same at all. Context makes all the difference, buddy. Rookie mistake, but that's alright. Shake it off. You'll get me. Eventually. Luna encouraging Usagi is good too. In fact, Luna being in the thick of it with Usagi is an admirable thing that endears her even more to the audience. And I think Naru chalking up that night to a dream will take the place of years of therapy. Okay. Although I'm not understanding why she called it a really wonderful dream, considering the traumatically gruesome nature of it before Sailor Moon showed up. Which reminds me, where are the strangulation marks on her neck? Because Morga nearly took that girl out of this world with her bare hands. I'm not buying this picture of health I'm seeing right now. Where's my explanation for that, show? What's this? There is no explanation for that? Alright then, another flaw with Classic. Damn, that's like 4 relatively small problems against Crystal's 400 massive problems and 4,000 small problems. Man, Classic doesn't stand a chance, guys. I think it's great that she was conscious for Usagi's Oshokyo speech, which helps start the urban legend of Sailor Moon. It's sweet that Naru is Sailor Moon's first fan. And of course, ending on the joke that Usagi, who slept in too long without Sailor Senshi responsibilities, is now having the opposite problem of being sleepy in class. So perhaps she got to school on time this morning, but she's exhausted from the Morga fight, so she's still going to get in trouble for sleeping in class. She just can't catch a break. And that's the end of episode 1. A very special episode indeed. Phenomenally crafted in every regard, despite its shortcomings that I've already presented. It's hilarious, it's thrilling, it's thought-provoking, it sets up quite a few payoffs for later in the season, but above all, it's damn good entertainment. Truly excellent stuff, truly. Now on to the other end of the spectrum. Crystal's final scenes feature the same level of writing and production that they've been displaying this entire episode, i.e. petrifyingly awful. Once again, we have a Pikachu-faced reaction to killing a demon and watching it crust over and fall apart. That's what a normal person's reaction would be, sure. Tuxedo Kamen's dramatic exit is cringe-inducing melodrama and cliche-as-hell anime ridiculousness. You'll love to see it. Oop, this just came in the mail for you, Crystal. It's from everyone? Sounds important. Let me read it to you. Dear Crystal, putting sparkles and rosy stained glass frames around stuff does not make it more appealing or interesting. It makes us want to vomit blood through our eyeballs. So does Sailor Moon's reaction to Tuxedo Kamen's exit, we just want to die. This image is cursed, and so is your entire existence for making these horrendous choices. Seriously, just leave the rosy stained glass frames to the professionals, i.e. Revolutionary Girl Utena. Sincerely, everyone. Wow. Powerful stuff. Jadeite is somehow more bland and generic than he is in the classic scene. At least that Jadeite had some kind of appropriate reaction to his Yoma failing him. I'd take that over squinty-eyed, motivation-repeating, vacant expression Backstreet Boy reject over here. He's like a cardboard cutout in every scene he's in. I just can't. Also, where's the energy Morga gathered? It's in her hands 1 second and gone the next. Where's the gathered energy? Did she hide it behind the counter or something? Did Naru wake up and find this awkward, glowing sci-fi cylinder next to a pile of dust in the morning? Did she report it to the police? Did she think it was a lava lamp her mom was selling and leave it there? Did her mother think it was a lava lamp she was selling and leave it there? Or did Jadeite come and pick it up after Sailor Moon and Luna left, but before Naru and all the mind slaves woke back up? What's going on here? I have so many questions about the energy she stole, and they're just never gonna get answered, are they?
No.
You know, none of this would be a problem if Jadeite was always in possession of the stolen energy and it depended on Morga being alive to sustain it. I wonder who made that smart narrative choice. I don't know exactly. It sounds familiar, but I'm just not sure when. In the final scene, Naru is the most expressive character in the entire episode, so that's an improvement at least. And she knows it isn't a dream. That's terrible. Awful. Atrocious. We can't have that. Sorry, Crystal. I really like the initial idea that Naru knows it wasn't a dream. That's great. I wish Classic did that. That's how much I like that idea. What's not great is this reaction to it, where she's not traumatized or scarred or struggling to come to grips with what just happened to her. Like, at all. Lest we forget, she almost died at the hands of a demon that pretended to be her mother and locked her real mom up in the basement for at least an entire day. Yes, I am aware that Classic also has Naru not traumatized after the Yoma attack, but because she thought it was a dream, there's enough of an excuse to hand-wave that issue away in Classic. Here though, Naru knows it was real. All of the insanely traumatizing things that happened to her and her mom was real. She shouldn't be okay if she knows all of that actually happened. That's why Classic made her think it was a dream, because it makes sense that she would be excited and hyped the next morning. Crystal once again failed to recognize the choices that Classic made to help the original story. So love the idea that she knows it really happened, not loving the execution of that idea. Leave it to Crystal to make the most expressive moment in the entire episode, the only halfway decent portrayal of emotion thus far, still be contradictory and nonsensical. Stellar work as always, Crystal. Oh, and Luna is in Usagi's school in the middle of the day because visual gag? Okay. I mean, it's kind of slightly a little humorous, I guess? Naru's friends are proposing that what happened last night was a dream, while Naru is arguing it's real. Still a stupid choice, but moving on. Then Usagi, with the definitive proof resting on her shoulders, grumbles that unfortunately it wasn't a dream. That's a smidge funny, right? I smirked at that. But now I'm realizing that's the only joke in this entire freaking episode that works, which is humiliating. Before we move on to the next section of the video, I wanted to take a second to address a very important concern for some people. I have been accused of, on more than one occasion, of being biased and overdosing on nostalgia. Apparently, rose-tinted glasses are firmly affixed to my eyes, thus making me incapable of two very important things in my critique and analysis videos. Number one, I do not have the integrity or intelligence to criticize or call out the bad things in Classic. And number two, I do not have the humility or insight to praise the good things in Crystal. Now, you and I both know, my dear viewers with common sense, that this is a bunch of bullcrap. But, unfortunately, some people are disconnected from that blessed common sense given to us by our benevolent God up above, which results in them becoming the unwitting prey to the disingenuous people desperate to label and dismiss my entire body of work and get swept up in the slander and misinformation these particular individuals peddle, an unsupported and baseless assumption made in an effort to undermine and debunk my objective analysis to discredit me and all who agree with any of my assessments. So this short interlude is my response to that unfortunate group of susceptible individuals under the sway of such a harmful and hilariously baseless assumption. I will now list everything I have previously criticized Classic Episode 1 for getting wrong, then I will very clearly and without resentment list everything I have previously praised Crystal Episode 1 for getting right. I will be linking this part of the video to anyone repeating these mindless assertions to succinctly correct them and hopefully bridge at least a portion of the gap between glorious common sense and their tragically dormant synapses. Work smarter, not harder, and all that. So, Classic Episode 1's flaws. Number 1, the opening exposition is clunky and unnecessary. Number 2, Shingo, you're my little brother expository dialogue is also clunky and unnecessary. Number 3, the increased hearing and supersonic wave abilities never coming back except once way later in the series. That kind of really irritates me. Number 4, supersonic wave's inconsistency in the Morga fight, which is a pretty big deal because if it didn't work out exactly the way it worked out, then she probably would have died. So that's not great. Naru's lack of trauma, physical and mental, in the aftermath of the Morga confrontation, which that's a small thing, but it kinda is annoying for me. And now, Crystal Episode 1's pros, as in things it does correctly. Number 1, Usagi falling down the stairs while rushing shows, not tells, the audience that she is clumsy. Number 2, Ikuko reading a Sailor V article in the newspaper is good world building and introduces Sailor V before she becomes plot relevant in a subtle way. Number 3, Morga's dress when she impersonates Naru's mom looks neat. I like the design. Number 4, Naru being suspicious of the super super discount sale is a good detail that builds up Morga's reveal later. Number 5, the Dark Kingdom introduction scene is short, succinct, mysterious, and vague, and that is all the compliments that I can give that scene. Truly. Number 6, camera angles and shot composition of the ceiling light and Usagi's desk in her room is great. Those were good choices. Number 7, set design of Usagi's bed being messy and unmade before she falls into it lazily is fantastic support of her characterization as lazy and irresponsible. Again, showing and not telling. Number 8, Usagi running around in a circle to avoid getting hit by the mind slave while Luna fusses at her is good comedy while maintaining the overall dread and horror of the moment. Number 9, everything to do with the supersonic waves is perfect, unlike Classic's portrayal of the attack. So there you go. It's perfect. That is one thing I can definitively say that Crystal got perfectly right. Number 10, Morga's death animation is creepy, gruesome, and creative. Number 11, Naru being expressive when recounting the Morga confrontation is a nice change of pace. Even if it doesn't slot in quite as well, it's still a nice change of pace. I was glad to see clear expressions and, emotion on a character's face. It was nice. The visual gag of Luna being at Usagi's school the next morning is a smidge funny. It's not hilarious, but it did get a little smirk out of me. So I'll give you that one, Crystal. And since we're already doing lists of important stuff from these videos, I feel it would be remiss if I didn't include the list. The one I have begun to catalog every Sailor Moon character's powers, abilities, techniques, and tools. This is for power scaling criticisms and considerations which directly affects the stakes and the logistical plot points of the story. This will become more and more useful as we progress through the show, so if you don't find much value in it presently, just bear with me on this. It is quite vital to objectively evaluating this series. Going in the order of the powers, abilities, techniques, or tools portrayed on screen, first, we'll start with Luna. Most of these are self-evident because she is essentially a normal cat who already has baked-in superhuman abilities. She has superhuman senses, including night vision, superhuman jumping, agility, speed. She has cat physiology, which is like her retractable claws, a prehensile tail, stuff like that. Now, the supernatural abilities she has is number 1, human speech, and it's contingent on her moon symbol being uncovered, because if it is covered, then she will not be able to use human speech. She won't be able to talk. Her sixth sense allows her to sense otherworldly power and or incidents. We see a little bit of that in the first episode. Her sixth sense is contingent upon her moon symbol being uncovered because, again, she says that all of her powers, sensory or otherwise, are impaired when her moon symbol is covered. And summoning. She can produce objects from a personal pocket dimension by doing a simple backflip. And we are going to see more instances of summoning as this series continues because it's a very common ability that a lot of characters have. And housed within her personal pocket dimension is the Moon Prism Brooch. Remember, that's what I'm calling it. The actual name for it sucks, so I'm calling it the Moon Prism Brooch. Then we have Queen Beru, because again, we're going in the order that powers or tools are shown on screen. So, she has her crystal ball. We don't know what she uses it for yet, but she floats it with telekinesis, presumably. This will be confirmed later on, but for now, you can kind of just, it's telekinesis. Then we have Jadeite, who teleports in a specific way. It's a billow of smoke and or energy collection. With the help of a Yoma, he is able to suck the energy from others and gather it in a single condensed orb. Now, if the Yoma is killed in the middle of this energy siphoning, then the condensed orb of energy is dispelled and the energy is returned to the original owners, as we see when Morga is defeated. He also has telepathy and can communicate with all of his Yoma telepathically no matter where they are on the planet. Next we have the titular Sailor Moon herself, with the Moon Prism Brooch, which grants her the ability to transform into her Senshi form, which is Sailor Moon, of course. The Odongo hair pieces, the two things that they're capable of doing and that we won't see them do for a long time. They increase her hearing to an insane degree, allowing her to hear screams from miles away, and it specifically hones in on Naru screams, so that's probably important as well. And the supersonic waves attack, where she cries desperately and her hair pieces amplify the sound into harmful waves directed at her enemies. Now, it is not clear how specifically and logistically this attack works, because again, she cries about twice before the actual attack activates, so, it's kind of dicey how that works, but basically, she cries, and the hair pieces will amplify those cries. If it's a serious enough cry, I guess. I don't know. Then, of course, she has her iconic Moon Tiara, which she uses for her Moon Tiara attack. Last but not least, we have Tuxedo Kamen, who, it's not confirmed this episode, but he summons a lot too. And he summons all of his roses that he uses because, they are magic roses that can pierce through stone, floor tiles, and, any other surface that he needs to pierce through, basically. And he uses these magic roses to distract enemies, giving his allies a chance to attack, which is what he does in episode 1, of course. Then we have his cape, makes its first appearance as well, but he doesn't use it for anything special, so I'm just making a note that he has a cape. We'll see if it does anything useful later. So there we have it. This list will grow with each episode and each new character that we are introduced to, so, just be ready to hear things added onto the list as we go, okay? Alright, back to the video. Is that it? Are we finally done? Because I'm seriously tired of all of... No. No. There it is. There it is. It's the writer's priorities finally revealed. No more perpetrating, no more pretending, no more subtlety. Not like there was a whole lot of that before now anyway, but it's point blank in your face now, baby. This is what's important to the writers of Crystal. Getting to the Sailor Senshi reveals and pushing the plot forward as fast as possible so we can get to the good stuff. The flashy, overblown, cliche anime nonsense that most people think of when they hear Sailor Moon. Here's why that's discomforting. Sailor Moon's big bombastic set pieces and dramatic climaxes that are amazing and hype and all the things we love are not the end-all be-all of the series. It's just one part of it. It's not the good part where everything else needs to happen out of reluctant obligation or something. There is no part like that in this series. All of it is the good part. It's not like Godzilla, where the human drama is the dumb part that they keep putting in for some reason when all anyone wants to see are the giant kaiju fights at the very end. The joy is in the journey. It's getting to see every step these characters take as their lives change, their world changes, and they choose to change in response. It's all about settling in and getting familiar with this world, these themes, the different events that make up the plot, but most importantly, these characters. There is no skip this boring part to get to the good stuff, because all of it is the good stuff. All of it is important, and all of it should be well-crafted storytelling. So when you're given a lazy production, a rushed script, undeveloped characters, plots, and themes, uninspired camera work, scene framing, and animation, but there's significant time dedicated to action or dream sequences or cameos or teasers, it's a clear omen. A harbinger of the things to come and a look into the priorities of the people working on the show. Their priority is not Usagi's life outside of Sailor Senshi stuff. It's not the world this story takes place in. It's not these characters that are supposed to be important to Usagi's life. It's not how the villains operate or what their motivations are or who they are as people. It's not about entertaining the audience with every scene. It's not about creating a visually striking and unique show. It's not about taking every shot and trying your best to make it the most interesting and engaging shot it can possibly be. It's not about conveying the proper emotion or mood for each scene. It's not about crafting setups with multiple payoffs far into the future of the series. It's not about exploring thematic questions or ideas relevant to the characters or the audience. It's not about writing well-developed jokes to keep the audience entertained and endeared to the characters. No. It's about skipping to the flashy, overblown, cliche anime nonsense that most people instantly think of when they hear Sailor Moon. It's about the other senshi being introduced. It's about all the powers and the moves they can do. It's about the inconsequential details of each senshi's design being manga accurate. It's about the space plot. It's about the big laser beams and explosions. It's about Usagi kissing Mamoru because OMG anime love. And with that mindset, you get mortifying episodes like Crystal Episode 1, instead of high quality, unforgettable, passionate masterpieces like classic Episode 1. Crystal is an unforgivable and unseemly mess that is both perplexing and insulting simultaneously. It barely does a single thing right, and when it does those few things right, they're barely above middling. On the whole, there's scarcely any development of anything. There's no style, there's no flair, there's very little energy or expression, and the plot just unfolds haphazardly with no discernible logic or consistency as the driving force. It's just bewildering drivel here, hot sweaty nonsense over there, and now we're doing some ridiculousness over here. Oh hey, look at that, the hero won and the villains lost and hearts went doki doki, woo! Anyway, Sailor Mercury's coming. Don't you want to watch the next episode? No! Crystal fans, I genuinely don't see how there could be any debate here, but if you got some defenses for this garbage, go ahead. Just please understand, saying, well, I liked it, and it's my favorite thing though, and this is my childhood/personal attachment to it. You can't invalidate my feelings, and you're mean and toxic because you've said something negative about this thing I like, and it's accurate to the manga though, so that means it's good, are not arguments. Those are fallacies, none of which are proper arguments or rebuttals. You liking it for whatever reason and it being well made are two different conversations. And I'm not trying to have the subjective one, alright? Accuracy to the source material and whether it's well written or not are two different conversations. Adherence to the manga doesn't make it inherently good, especially if the manga itself has problems, which it clearly does. Look, there's nothing wrong with liking Crystal. I don't get it personally, but it's fine. And no one said you're wrong for liking it more than the classic anime. Again, I don't get it personally, but it's fine. I'm not interested in whining and moaning back and forth about how your feelings and my feelings differ. However, if I've gotten my facts wrong, misinterpreted anything, or screwed up during research, feel free to point that out. Maybe we can have a conversation. But yeah, if you just want to read about your precious animu, knock yourself out. My comment section is open to everybody. As for the rest of us, I think I've made my point. Classic Episode 1 is a spectacular introduction to the series. It's everything you could ever want from an opening episode, and it's doing more than you may realize on your first watch. There's so much that I noticed while studying the scenes for this video, and I look forward to finding other things I never noticed in the coming episodes. Beyond introducing us to Usagi and the main themes of the series, this episode opens the door to this world, this wonderful and hilarious yet terrifying and ominous world. There's goofy teachers that yell at their problem students, normal girls that love shopping for accessories and dream of finding a cool boyfriend, mean little neighborhood kids that pick on stray cats, rude and comical cheapskate customers, oblivious but well-meaning nerdy boys, and just generally normal, peaceful people. That's a lot of interesting details to start building this world with, and invites us to take a deeper, more methodical look into this rich location our colorful characters call home. A home that is being threatened by ominous, sinister, demonic forces that we've only scratched the surface of. For as cliche or bland as the Dark Kingdom appears at first, there is a significant level of danger and menace they've already achieved. Not to mention the delicious horror elements they exude in every scene, adding to their overall maleficent nature. The supporting cast is slowly and carefully introduced as well. Naru Umino, the Tsukino family, Haruna Sensei, and Mamoru for Usagi, and Tuxedo Kamen for Sailor Moon. Each one adds their own special flavor to the overall meal of the story. Naru's the more mature and intelligent normal girl, contrasting and complementing Usagi's character just as a foil character like her should. For as put together as Naru was, she was still lacking in many areas, which we'll get into as the season continues. Umino's a nice support for the trio of friends, offering a male perspective to things, as well as being the intelligent but tactless comic relief. He may appear to be just an exposition dump at first, but give him time, and he'll be quite a fascinating look into the boys of this world. Speaking of, Shingo. I still don't like him, but I will admit that it's not because of his role as annoying little brother we're supposed to dislike. It's because I now see the pieces that were laid down for the many directions his character could have gone in, and, well, we just never get anywhere. Shingo is still gonna be interesting to think about in terms of how he relates to Usagi's character and how growing up with a younger brother affects our girl. Ikuko is that lovely maternal figure with a short fuse when it comes to Usagi's current standing. She may seem harsh, but as we saw this episode, Usagi is a kid that warrants harsh chastisement, as unfortunate as that is. We get a clear look into the pattern of laziness, irresponsibility, and brat-like nature her daughter has been exhibiting for presumably quite some time. So it's more like she's been pushed to this by Usagi herself, resorting to more and more desperate measures in the hopes of getting through to her knucklehead daughter. The same can be said of Haruna Sensei, who also gets a constant and close-up reminder of how irresponsible and misbehaved Usagi truly is when it counts. We'll have to see how all that develops as we progress through, eh? And of course, Mamoru/Tuxedo Kamen, who I will have more to say about every single episode he appears, as I'll be mapping out the development of his and Usagi's relationship. So for now, let's establish where they are. Mamoru believes Usagi to be an unintelligent, ill-mannered, and childish girl. Nothing remarkable about her. Usagi believes Mamoru to be a rude, abrasive, and nosy weirdo. Something remarkable about him, but nothing positive. And I love that for them. Call it another cliche if you want, but the enemies to lovers trope is much better than the love at first sight trope. It establishes an uphill battle right at the start, and along the way, each remotely positive thing that happens between the two is that much more important because of where they began. It makes every shift, every encounter, every word exchange between them more valuable, because we're looking for the moment in which the tide turns and they beat the odds and come together. We get to see love grow between them instead of a switch flicking on or off every time they run into each other. These aren't walking light switches, they're people with complex emotions that are always in flux. And seeing them clash until they finally find some kind of common ground and build on it is immensely satisfying, because it's not just the writer slapping us with "it's fate" over and over. It's characters making choices based on their situations in life and the fluctuations that occur, causing a gradual, believable change in their perspectives about each other. You can claim it's a cliche, you can reference a dozen other stories that did it better, you can deride it all you want, but I'd much rather have this than this.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
The best part about this, though, is the fact that they are head over heels for each other's alter egos, the best parts of themselves. It's their normal selves, the worst parts of themselves, that they must learn to love, which is a nice segue into the many themes of the show. The title of this episode, The Graceful Change of Crybaby Usagi, has multiple meanings, the first of which is obvious. This is the first time Usagi changes into Sailor Moon through a graceful transformation sequence. Another deeper meaning is the graceful change that Usagi's life has gone through now that she has awoken as a Sailor Senshi. A change from a regular girl with regular problems to a magical girl with a serious mission to carry out. But the deepest and most meaningful interpretation is the graceful change that Usagi has begun here at the beginning of the series and will complete at the very end. This is the one I like the most because it establishes the main theme of the series. Usagi begins her story as an irresponsible yet lovable, klutzy crybaby idiot, among other things. And she will slowly but surely go through a drastic change that will shape her into the person she's going to be in the future. If that sounds familiar, it should, because it's an allegory for growing up. And it's a beautiful, impactful, and graceful change from immature child to responsible adult. This episode is just the first tentative, reluctant, and awkward step on that journey, with Luna as her guide, an ominous entity that leads her into life-threatening danger with little to no care for her well-being and expectations that verge on unrealistic. Now that may not seem like a fair assessment of her, especially to those that know how Luna turns out. But Luna remains a mystery by the end of this episode, and I believe that's on purpose. Consider everything surrounding black cats and what they represent in both Western and Eastern cultures. Because it may surprise some of you to know that the myth of black cats crossing paths is polarizing. As in Britain, Ireland, Germany, and most importantly Japan, it's considered good luck to encounter a black cat during your travels. But in America and India, it's considered bad luck and an omen of misfortune. The question is, which culture was considered when crafting the character of Luna? Well, it's not as simple as that. The reason why these cultures have the myths and superstitions about cats is because of how those cultures saw cats symbolically. Their perspective determined the nature of black cats in their lives. In Japan specifically, black cats were seen as being able to ward off evil. This idea possibly started because of their good night vision, and dark color was thought to allow them to move about freely at night. According to folklore, there is a tale of a samurai who sought refuge from the rain under a tree and was guided by a black cat to a nearby temple. This incident was interpreted as a sign of good fortune, solidifying the positive association with black cats in Japanese society. Mythical creatures like the nekomata, a cat with a forked tail, were believed to be spiritual guardians and protectors of households. They were called lucky cats and not only kept as pets but also used as a color for maneki neko, or beckoning cats. It was thought that black maneki neko also functioned to ward away evil, as the color of the maneki neko figurines provides additional benefits. Pink increases luck and love, gold attracts wealth, black wards off evil. The specific meaning of the maneki neko even changes depending on which paw is raised. The right paw attracts money and good fortune, while the left invites friendship and customers. So this one is inviting your friendship and patronage to my channel. Now you don't have a choice. All of you must be my friends and patrons, so saith the porcelain cat. Cats' ties to wealth in Japan trace all the way back to 1602. When an imperial decree set free all cats in Japan. This was intended to capitalize on their natural ability for pest control, especially in the sericulture community. It's believed that this is where maneki neko figurines originated. Back in the Edo era, black cats were rumored to cure tuberculosis, based on the coincidence that someone who kept black cats as pets was cured of the disease, due to their ability to ward off evil. Since people at the time lived in fear of what was thought to be an incurable disease, this ray of desperate hope started a superstition that keeping a black cat would cure tuberculosis. Most famously, Okita Soji, a captain of the Shisen Gumi, is said to have kept a black cat in the hopes that it would cure his own tuberculosis. It didn't quite work out that way. Another common superstition about black cats in Japan that is relevant to Sailor Moon is the belief that black cats are a lucky sign for those looking for love. In Japan, single women who own them are thought to attract more suitors. While it doesn't speak specifically to black cats, studies have shown that owning a pet can help with interpersonal relationships. One survey found that 63% of respondents said they were very likely to date a pet owner. So Usagi really lucked out with meeting Luna, huh? Meanwhile, in the English Midlands of Britain, black cats are also considered to be great wedding gifts, as they're believed to bring good luck and happiness to the bride. It's also said that newlyweds with a black cat in their home are destined for a long, happy life together. Aw, isn't that sweet? But of course, black cats in other regions of Europe and North America got a bad rap thanks to their connection to witchcraft and the occult. Pope Gregory IX officially decreed in the 13th century, black cats are an incarnation of Satan himself. This official decree, called Vox in Rama, marked the beginning of the Inquisition and the witch hunts, originally designed to squash growing satanic cults in Germany. So unfortunate, but also you don't want to let Satan worshippers hang around either, so. During the Middle Ages, people blamed black cats for spreading the bubonic plague and used that as another reason to get rid of them. In a particularly bizarre piece of irony, the killing of the cats helped fuel the spread of the plague. With the reduced number of cats to control the rodent population, the real cause of the plague, the disease spread rapidly. So that wasn't such a good idea. Given the belief in medieval Europe and eventually North America that the devil and witches were capable of taking the form of black cats, it makes sense that the superstitions surrounding crossing their paths developed. Therefore, a black cat crossing your path might very well be on a mission from a witch. Just as easily, it could be the devil in disguise, and no one wants to cross paths with the devil. So, as you can see, black cat's reputation differs wildly depending on where you are in the world. How can we then narrow down what Luna's symbolic meaning is in the show? Simple. We don't limit her to one culture. Depending on the perspective, she could be an angel or a devil, and that's what makes this so fascinating. As Inbal Hanigman, a famous psychic, brilliantly puts it, a black cat symbolizes mystery and secrecy. To those fearful of mysteries, the black cat may represent evil, but lovers of mysteries, magic, and the arts love that aspect of the cat symbolism. In that way, black cat's meaning is subjective. For someone as flawed and immature as Usagi in this episode, is it any wonder that she would view Luna, a black cat, in this ominous way? Perspective is everything, and with our perspective locked into Usagi's, we get this foreboding and ominous introduction to Luna. The creators are trying to paint her in a very particular light for the beginning of her arc and the symbolic relationship she has with Usagi. Think about it. What does Usagi really know about Luna at the end of this episode? We already see that Luna has kept information from her that she could have easily told her earlier. In the case of Moon Tiara action, her withholding that information endangered Usagi's life. And Luna doesn't appear to recognize that as an issue. Luna doesn't open up to Usagi as a person this episode either. Her personality is on full display, but she doesn't tell Usagi who she is or why she's been tasked with her mission to awaken the Senshi. She doesn't tell Usagi where she's from, if there's more of her kind out there, what her relationship to the all-important princess is. She doesn't even tell Usagi why she's named her new identity Sailor Moon. Think about that. Luna does not explain the significance of her moon symbol beyond the abilities it grants her, nor the significance of the title Sailor Moon, nor any details of the Dark Kingdom's history or infrastructure. Nothing. Luna gives her the bare minimum and sometimes even less, and we get nothing in the way of why she has chosen to keep Usagi in the dark, when she's the only person that we know of that Luna can work with to complete their vital mission. Interesting to say the least, right? Pay very close attention to all the sinister and foreboding details added to her appearances in this and the coming episodes of this arc. It'll be much clearer as we go. But for now, just know that Luna, in essence, represents the mystery of adulthood and maturity, a higher calling to responsibility and the tough job being an adult entails. Luna's entire foreboding and ominous vibe this episode, and this arc even, is to highlight Usagi's fear and reluctance to growing up. Being Sailor Moon means assuming the role of an adult, and the dangers that come with the Senshi life are indicative of the challenges to growing up. The Dark Kingdom and Yoma are specifically the challenges of maturity that Usagi must grapple with in order to become a full-fledged adult. There's a reason why sins, fears, and flaws are used by the Dark Kingdom to ensnare their victims. This episode we had Morga, a Yoma that is inspired by the possessed girl from The Exorcist, and this is by no means a coincidence. The original Exorcist film, for those that don't know, is about a girl possessed by a vicious demon, and her mother, after running out of ways to help her daughter, seeks help from priests to perform an exorcism, hence the name of the film. The first half of the movie, aside from introducing the various characters and the setting of the story, is all about how the mother tries various methods to improve her daughter's condition as her daughter gets worse and worse. She seeks human help, but it's beyond natural human responses, because it's not a physical or medical problem, but a spiritual one. And as soon as the mother accepts this, she goes to the priests for help. And the priests try to perform the exorcism and save the girl. However, despite their prayers and blessings, they themselves are fallible and ill-equipped to defeat the demon on their own, and thus become the demon's prey, in the form of the possessed girl lashing out at them. One of the priests recognizes his fallibility, overcomes it, and thus activates a power he didn't know he had, the ability to take the demon into himself, and through sacrificing his life, save the girl. A decision necessary for the girl to be free of the demon, which means she now has the ability to go on with her life, to grow up, instead of dying at the hands of this demon in her adolescence. In Sailor Moon, we have two possessions, a literal one and a metaphorical one. Morga is a demon that literally possesses the identity of Naru's mom, and she became a bigger and bigger threat to the world the longer she remained Naru's mom. As her power grew, her form was revealed as a grotesque, demonic version of Naru's mom, dropping all pretenses. Naru seeks human help, but it's beyond natural human responses. It's a mystical problem, and so she receives mystical help. Sailor Moon and Luna arrive, two mystical characters that are fallible and ill-equipped to defeat the demon, and thus become the demon's prey, in the form of the possessed woman lashing out at them. The moment the tide turns for Sailor Moon and Luna is when she recognizes her fallibility, overcomes it, thus activating a power she didn't know she had, the ability to defeat the demon through her own magical or spiritual power. The demon is defeated and the girl is saved. Now Naru has the chance to grow up instead of dying at the hands of this demon in her adolescence. Luna and Usagi don't die, of course, but their lives are at stake in this battle, as I've explained previously. Not a total sacrifice of life, but a willingness to put that life in jeopardy in order to defeat the demon and save the innocent. The metaphorical possession is a little trickier to spot. Usagi is possessed in this first episode, not by a literal demon, but by a fatal flaw: irresponsibility. Her mother, Ikuko, has tried all she knows to do to help her daughter to be responsible and mature into a proper young woman. But she is a normal woman, and the normal methods at her disposal have clearly not worked. Enter Luna, a mystical character who goes to her bedroom and begins to combat the irresponsibility that possesses her. Luna gives Usagi something that transforms her from a hopeless victim to a Sailor Senshi, someone set apart from normal girls with a mission and responsibilities. And when she hears one of those responsibilities crying out to her, save Naru and defeat the supernatural enemies that no one else can, she is reluctant to do so. The push and pull of the exorcism begins. The fight between maturity and immaturity, responsibility and irresponsibility. The height of immaturity is when she cries about wanting to go home and why this has to happen to her. The selfish and irresponsible nature of Usagi reigning over the power and responsibility of Sailor Moon. Through giving in to this fatal flaw, her demon, she furthers the suffering of everyone around her and nearly gets herself killed, showing just how dangerous and self-destructive irresponsibility and immaturity is. It's only when Tuxedo Kamen, another spiritual / mystical character, comes to her aid and encourages her to do something to solve her predicament instead of sitting there pitying herself. It's a very interesting moment, but notice what is specifically said. Tuxedo Kamen says, crying isn't going to solve anything, Sailor Moon. And Usagi in response says, but and starts crying, which activates the supersonic waves attack. Usagi isn't able to finish the protests. She simply cries, which activates the supersonic waves. This could be interpreted as her recognizing her demon and understanding she has to overcome it. And that will be a daunting task, but now she understands it's something she needs to do in order to survive to adulthood. And it's this internal understanding that activates the supersonic waves, which was my issue with this scene before, if you recall. Earlier, when I joked and said that Tuxedo Kamen was wrong about the crying thing, I was being facetious. Crying did something, it just didn't solve anything. Morga wasn't defeated. As soon as the attack stopped, she would have recovered and resumed her attempt at killing Usagi. Maybe even the Mind Slaves would have been woken back up, who knows? Crying didn't solve anything. It was the Moon Tiara action that solved the current problem. She got her crying out of the way and moved on to an action that was really effective in destroying the enemy, which I think is on purpose. In the manga and Crystal, this attack is called Moon Tiara Boomerang, which makes sense. It's a thing she throws and it comes back. Easy. But in Classic, they call it Moon Tiara Action, and I never understood why until I started studying this episode. This attack, unlike Usagi's other attack, is a conscious decision on her part. It's not an automatic, last-ditch effort defensive thing. It's an action that Usagi must take in order to accomplish her goals. Calling it Moon Tiara Action emphasizes that notion. And returning to our metaphorical exorcism narrative, the demon possessing our girl is irresponsibility, immaturity, or inaction. It's fitting then that in order to combat this demon, she must take action. Usagi took action when she rescued Luna in the first scene. She took action when she chose to turn into Sailor Moon, despite not knowing fully what she was in for. She took action when she heard Naru's screams and ran to Osapi to rescue her. She took action when she stood up to Morga. All of these moments are her most mature, most responsible, and most heroic moments in the episode. And all of them are because she took action. And now, her most heroic and responsible action in the episode is when she does Moon Tiara Action and defeats Morga. It's so heroic that Usagi can barely believe it herself. What a difference taking action makes compared to inaction and waiting for someone else to do it for her. With the defeat of Morga, Usagi's demon has been dealt a significant blow in this exorcism, but she is not completely free of it yet. I'm afraid that's a multi-season long exorcism with this demon. But we have seen a purposeful step forward in that process, where we see the demon is still present. In the end, Usagi is sleeping in class, but its control is now weaker than before. She's sleeping in class during a break in the actual lessons, an important distinction from before. Now I know it's not a one-to-one comparison between the two stories, but you can't deny all the interesting connections one can easily make, can you? There's definitely some correlation between the two narratives that all have to do with a girl in danger of never growing up because a demon has possessed her life. And it's up to two spiritual or mystical characters who are fallible and ill-equipped to excise this demon themselves, but can influence and empower the girl to free herself of the demon. Because demon possession is when autonomy and choice are no longer up to the person and they become prisoners in their own bodies, puppeted around and controlled by this malevolent force. Through inaction or the habitual lack of good choices, the demon is granted control. All it takes is a little spiritual intervention and for the victim to choose to act, for the demon to lose its power, even if it's just a little bit. And all of this is derived simply by the design of Morga, the monster of the week, referencing a movie. I love it. And that does it for episode 1's analysis, the first episode of season 1, the first episode of the first arc of the series. This first arc, which I call the Jadeite arc for obvious reasons, is 13 episodes long. And man, oh man, is there a lot going on in them, much more than I thought before starting this series. While there are a couple clunky episodes in the mix, these are some of the most memorable episodes in this series, while establishing a foundation and foreshadowing many things to come. Themes, plot points, and character developments that simply don't work if you don't have this story arc. The things touched upon in this arc are gonna come back in major ways, not just this season, but in the coming seasons as well. I would love to continue into this season with you guys as soon as possible. Not to mention bash Crystal some more, because that was a rip-roaring fun time, let me tell you. But that's not really up to me. Not to be overly dramatic, but these videos really are monsters to complete, for a myriad of reasons. Working a 9 to 5 while doing all the production of video making, including scripting, recording, researching, editing, and copyright death matches, takes a hell of a lot of time and effort, both of which I have in short supply due to burning the candle at both ends to get this project done. Quite frankly, as much as I would love to immediately jump onto episode 2, it wouldn't be financially responsible. I'll have to work on this project in between actual work, unless magically this channel becomes a stable source of income. Just being honest. So if you enjoyed any part of my content, first of all, I sincerely thank you and I appreciate your engagement. It's been really great to hear from you guys. Really it has. But if you're dying to see more much faster, you can always support the channel through the various avenues I have available. Links to all that stuff is in the description, as always. Until I'm able to do the big episode analysis videos, I'll have some smaller vids released in the meantime, so you won't forget your cool big brother Saj as the time between uploads stretches on. In fact, I already have a 1,000 subscriber special in the works. I'm sure everybody will get a kick out of that. So thanks for sticking with me throughout this whole process, and please stay tuned for more. Have a good one. I'll see you next video.